was dark.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Should be a good show. I'd figure.
Pre-game butterflies, boys.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's should be all right. Should be all right. Mike, you're gonna retweet that. Maybe Dash retweet the stream.
On it.
Let me know when you guys are. I think everybody butterflies are gone.
Yep, good to go.
It's gonna be a good one out there, boys. Get a good start. Play a full 60.
And now, for an episode of Straight Off the Pipe with Mega Thread, Mike, Dirsa, and Dash in the park. Here we go.
Welcome to episode 6 of Straight Off the Pipe podcast. I am your co-host, Dash, aka Dash in the Park. We're here Wednesday on a very special edition. We'll be back tomorrow night at our regular scheduled time at 9 o'clock, but this is not only special because we are in the heart of free agent frenzy. We also have some big news for you tonight. So with that, I'd like to give you my co-host, the Deputy Mayor of Grand Prairie, Mega Thread, Mike Dirsa. What do you got to say, buddy?
Well, I'd like to start the show by saying there's a couple of changes that me and Dash are kind of going through. We were taken on by Brevera Media and asked to get me out of semi-retirement, I guess, and get back podcasting. But kind of the whole time that was going on, I felt like I was doing a bit of a disservice to a really good friend of mine and the guy that got me started in this whole podcasting game, Mr. Hebert. So I'd like to thank them for everything that they did in getting me back into this. But I guess here to announce that we've joined Oilerslive and heavy hockey and all the aliases you want to give this operation. But happy to be here and
big time.
Yeah, and now there's plenty to talk about, I guess, in the land of Oilers hockey. Started out, I think, early this morning with the news of Ethan Bear getting traded to Carolina for a winger that can play both sides, kind of a gritty winger in Warren Feogele. Albertans will be happy to know he drives a pickup truck, as they say, but if you watch a little bit of the guy on YouTube, you'll I think like a little bit of what you see there. It's hard to see Ethan Bear go. Everything that he meant to the Indigenous community, and an Oiler draft pick, a young guy with a promising future ahead of him. I wish him. It's kind of like Caleb Jones all over again. I wish him nothing but the best going forward in Carolina and throughout his career. And hopefully he plays really well there. And I'm glad he's in a different division, so he doesn't have to torture us almost on a nightly basis, because he's a promising player with a bright future, I think, in this league. So it's sort of bittersweet. You're sad to see the guy go, but you're looking forward to seeing a guy that can play left wing or right wing and has a pretty lethal snapshot and has some size and some bite in his game. Calgary picked up Blake Coleman. If you watch on YouTube, they both got a penalty before the game even started, ready to square off. I wish they would have went. Maybe we'll get to see that as a edition of the Battle of Alberta, and I'm looking forward to that. So I guess you guys can touch on what you think about that, but that's kind of how we'll start it.
Who do we got in this box next to us, Durs?
So yeah, in the middle, I don't see Mr. Hebert. I see the whole show. So hopefully he's in the middle he's on the far right on his screen. So I just see you on mine and in full screen here. So I'm getting used to this new kind of format that we're under. So
He's cut me
forgive me
right
for
out of the
that.
picture already, Dash. I can't.
Hey,
I said he's cut me out of the picture already, and we're like 5 minutes in.
He's a
I
demanding
know, right?
personality.
I thought he'd be sick of looking at me all the time, but
Glad to be on the show, guys. Happy to. I'll say a couple words. Happy that you guys are part of it, and this is awesome. Like you guys have a great thing going, and I'm just glad to be along for the ride tonight.
hey man, this is a cool partnership. I've listened to your podcast for years, Michael, and you've got a unique view on the Oilers, and I have always been interested in it. So you're an awesome follow. You're an awesome fan, and above all else, I think in following you, it's pretty easy to tell you're an awesome person. So I think we've got 3 of those, all set up here, and it's a really exciting new beginning.
Awesome, great guys. Take it away, Dirsa.
That said, we got into some Oilers, I guess. I don't know. The day started off the way it did, Dirsa. I didn't love hearing the news of Ethan Bear either. Obviously, we've talked in our past episodes about my love for the guy and being a top on my Oiler favorites. And it was obviously hard to see that go. When the rumors started creeping in the beginning of the day, and the word became, where there's smoke, there's fire, I think. And ultimately it was kind of becoming more realistic that we were probably going to lose Ethan. And I guess I was trying to justify it as soon as I heard it by hoping it was maybe for that goaltending we needed, right? If we could have, pushed him down to one of those other teams and brought a goalie back, I would have felt pretty good about it. Part of this with losing Ethan Bear for a grinded out forward that still needs a contract reeks of Jeff Petrie 2.0 for me a little bit, man. I don't know. This one might hurt in the future. It's going to be tough to watch another 23, 24-year-old defenseman that shoots from the right side that is just reaching his potential. It's the guy that played top pairing minutes for us last year. I don't know how we replace that.
Well, I think what led to Ethan getting dealt was I think it's just a bit of a domino effect from Adam Larson going to Seattle.
I
do. I think Adam Larson going to Seattle really changed the dynamic and made Tyson Barrie an Oiler. Tyson Barrie becoming an Oiler led to Ethan Bear getting dealt. So it was dominoes that fell there.
I facetious. I don't think I know it is a reason.
For sure.
It's absolutely a domino.
And I kind of think like, I was prepared to lose Ethan in a deal for a goalie.
Yeah, me too.
I was kind of taken by surprise a little bit that he was dealt for a forward.
Me too, brother.
I'm kind of happy it wasn't for Jake DeBrusk, to be honest. The Warren Foegele addition, it's a guy that can help in that bottom 6 role, something that we desperately needed. It would have been nice to get a top 6 left winger, but we got that in Zach Hyman. So I think Hyman sort of getting lost in the Ethan Bear transaction this morning. That's going to help. I mean, our forwards, I think our group of forwards are better today than they were at the end of the season. I think it's hard to argue that, but I think our defense has taken a bit of a step back. I was okay with the Keith trade if Larson was his partner. Now that it's probably going to be Cody Ceci, I think that's a little bit of a step back from what I was willing to think would work with Keith and Larson. Now it's going to be, I think, more pressure on Duncan Keith, being Cody Ceci as his partner. Might work, it might not. I guess we're going to have to find out on that front. Late in the day, there was the addition of Derek Ryan, a centerman. It's not Ryan Getzlaff. It isn't that, big guy that can play that in your kitchen kind of style. It really isn't that, but he's a little bit more fleet of foot. He's got some pretty good hands on him. So that will help. I think he's been fairly good in the face pretty good in the face-off dot. So that addition will help. But still for me, the biggest thing that I want to see get changed before I say this has been a pretty good free agency is there needs to be something done in net. You need to improve on what you had last year. I feel like you've made the team a little bit better here, but if you want to make it a lot better, you need to improve on the status quo, which was the last 2 years of our goaltending.
So curious, guys, like Ethan Bear for Feogele, whether we needed him or not, is this a fair trade?
I think Carolina gets the better of the deal as far as talent's concerned. Ethan Bear needs a new contract next year. He's going to go up considerably from $2 million a year. We bring in Feogele, at a lesser. I think he made $2 million last year. If that is a extension in that same range, then I think there's a little bit of asset management at play, Michael, because instead of paying Ethan Bear $5 million in 2 years, you're just paying Warren Feogele for $2 million over the next 4 or something, right? So I think in a world of cap management where it's so valuable to have cap space, it's a little bit of that as well. But if you're just talking one-on-one talent for talent, I can't find anybody that's going to tell you we won this trade.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. It's hard to. I think Dirsa, you're saying. I mean, we needed the forward depth. I think you're right, but man, it just seems like a lot to not get anything else. Maybe even a pick or something, or a prospect, or at least a little bit extra. I know, like Bear still has a lot to prove in the league. He hasn't played that many games. But I don't know. I mean, there's not many Oilers fans out there that don't think he's even underrated on our own team, right?
Agreed.
It was, and he, let's keep in mind, nobody's talking about this, but he played first D minutes.
I said that earlier. How do you replace that? I mean, he was a first pairing D, and he was put in situations where he was sheltering Barrie and Bouchard already. Like, he was already doing that type of sheltering for these guys, right? And in that first pairing role, Connor McDavid was better on the ice when Ethan Bear was on the ice with him than Tyson Barrie. When Ethan lost his first pairing role, and I think his minutes were diminished from 22 minutes a night down to 18, and he lost those 4 minutes a night. He wasn't a first pairing defenseman anymore after that, but I think that he was still doing some sheltering for those other guys and still taking some of those defensive zone draws. And it's a good point, man. It's going to be hard to replace. We've had 3 defensemen in 3 years that were top pairing guys between Clefbaum, Larson, and Bear, now all not on our team, right? And we have Warren Feogele on a pickup truck to show for it.
That's a shot at you, Dirsa.
Well, that's
There's
okay.
a lot more shots at Dirsa.
Yeah.
We haven't dropped the gloves yet.
I'm used to it from him, but I think everybody looks at Ethan Bear from a lens from 2 years ago and not last year. He took a step back last year.
Was it that big of a step back though?
I think so.
Yeah. All
I think the concussion period for sure. I think he took a step back, but I think if you look at the beginning and the end, it was pretty good.
I think he came out of the gates slow, and then he had his concussion, and it took him time to find his game again, and then he did. But I think there was a massive loss of confidence, whether that's on Ethan or the coaching or whatever, in the playoffs as well. Tyson Barrie, I thought, was, for the most part of the last season, was a defensive liability until the playoffs started. So that part of Tyson Barrie doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I thought he got better though as the year progressed. Like that's
what I mean. Yeah. When the games got more important at the end is when he played his best defensive hockey, but his offensive numbers slid. He didn't do a lot in the playoffs, right? He didn't put up a lot of points. We didn't get a lot of power plays, so maybe that has a lot to do with it. But
certainly is
same thing.
Well, he certainly gets a lot of his points on the power play. He's also getting a lot of his points off of second assists. I don't know.
You're going to play that game where you're discounting second assists?
when it's 60% of your assists,
I
when
don't
other
care.
defensemen have 20% of their assists being second assists. Yeah, I am
That's-
going to count that because it means
that's
that
how
you're-
plays start.
Oh, great. You pass it from your hash marks to the blue line and Connor skates like the wind, dude. I could do that.
Why aren't you?
Because I'm not Tyson Barrie, I guess.
I guess
You
not.
know, it's going to be a high event chance season. You know, we I did some research here before the pod, and we lost 2 or 3 of our most steady guys when it comes to giveaway takeaways. And here's just a little bit of an eye opener for you. I'll read this to you and then kind of drop the mic. We had Larson and a couple guys that could obviously defend better than I think what we're sitting with now. When you look at just giveaways and takeaways, this is all not just 5-on-5, it's all time. So Doc last year, 24 takeaways, 61 giveaways. Ceci, 11 takeaways, 15 giveaways. Keith, 27 takeaways, 63 giveaways. Barrie, 16 takeaways, 43 giveaways. Russell, 6 takeaways, 29 giveaways. Bouchard, 4 takeaways, 10 giveaways. That's a total of 90 takeaways and 224 giveaways. Keith was 6th in the league in giveaways. Darnell Mills was 8th in the league in giveaways, and Tyson Barrie was 33rd in the league in giveaways.
High risk, high reward.
Are we going back to 80s run and gun, man?
Pretty much. That's why you need a good goalie to stop it all.
And like the good defensemen out there, like they're just to back it up, because I thought you'd ask, there's a list of defensemen that have considerably long list of defensemen that have more takeaways than giveaways, right? You look at Fox, McCarr, Carlson, Peter Angelo, Ristolainen, Devin Tays, Spurgeon, Orlov, Carlson. There's good defensemen should be taking the puck away more than they give it away. And we've got a defense core that gave it away 90 times or took it away 90 times and gave it away 224 times.
Takeaways doesn't define everything though, right? If you chip a puck in the corner and you go and get it, that doesn't count as a takeaway, right?
I'm just speaking to that high events chance team that we're going to be sitting on, and that's what I'm saying.
Right. But it's kind of isolating a stat to go your way. It's cherry picking.
That's what I do, bro.
I know. Wayne.
I'll take that. You can call me Wayne anyway, buddy. And by the way, that's on record that you just called me the great one.
I said Wayne.
Yeah, man. I just how do you guys think so we talked about these Oilers run and gun, and our defense is not better. It's not. I'm sorry, but Keith and Ceci are not a Stanley Cup winning defensive second pair. And that's relying on Bouchard and Russell as a third pairing. That's not a great third pairing for a Stanley Cup winning team.
No, I think Evan Bouchard is going to come into his own. I think he's going to do all right. And I think it's a little early to I mean, we're 1 day into free agency. So you got 2 months before we start playing real games. So there's still time to reshape a little bit here. Yeah, for sure there is. I still think something gets done on the goalie front, because I don't think Ken Holland is satisfied with status quo in net. I really don't.
Oh, so he's got a magic bag of beans and some abracadabra? Dirks, how's he going to get a goalie now, dude? How?
Be a trade the same way it was going to happen this morning at 10 o'clock when things opened.
Oh, except at 10 o'clock this morning, our cap space is incredibly different than it was right now. And we have $1.2 million in cap space left. How are we going to get a goalie with 1.2?
You don't bring back a goalie that costs as much as what Koskinen costs right now.
So you're saying we're shipping Koskinen out to get a goalie?
Right.
And you think we can trade Koskinen with any value whatsoever without retaining salary, or do we have to retain salary?
I don't retain salary. I throw a couple of picks with him and get back a goalie that's cheaper and gain cap space.
So instead of trading, man, I don't know how that works mathematically. If you're not going to retain caps, you can't even trade Koskinen right now by retaining half of his salary and keeping $2 million in cap space. How are you going to trade him without doing that? And if
how do you actually know that?
Because we would have traded him by now if we could have.
Maybe
If we could-
Holland is saving that,
Saving that for all the goalies to get signed today already? Like there's nothing left?
No, there's like he wasn't going to sign a free agent goalie. There was no crop. There was no real crop for that.
Sure there was. Sign Allmark.
Who signed him?
So who's left? Who's left on the
Nobody. Devin Dubnyk.
Yeah, he's got a good history with us.
Yeah. You're getting a goalie via trade.
But how do you bring in a goalie when you don't have money to pay him? You're going to trade out Koskinen.
Because you're trading Koskinen
and draft picks to for someone to take on that full $4 million salary, Dirce. Fine.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to get $4 million in cap space.
And you bring back a $2 million goalie.
Million.
You've gained $2 million in cap space.
What $2 million goalie is available by a trade that's going to win us the Stanley Cup?
We don't need that as a starter. We need like a 1A, 1B, and a confident 1B. I think Mike Smith can play 41 games and do all right, have a winning record there. So you need another goalie that can do the same thing. Mike Smith's a $2.5 million goalie.
So you agree with me? Our window to win a Stanley Cup based on that Keith move is 2 years, right? 2 to 3 years. Holland's window's now
4.
Okay, 4 years. All right.
Yeah.
So you think that Smith for 2 years and somebody that we can miraculously bring in for $2 million, which I'm still going to get to that math with you for a second. And that's going to be someone who can win us a Stanley Cup. When you look back at the Stanley Cup winning goaltenders for the last 20 years, there's been 2 goalies in the last 20 years that were brought in via free agency to win a cup. Okay, 18 of the 20 goalies for the last 20 years were homegrown goalies.
If you guys are on Periscope, by the way, Ricky Rack says Georgiev's available still. Is that
that's by a trade? That wasn't free agency. Oh, yeah. Mike
I'm saying the only way you're acquiring a goalie is via trade with some draft picks.
Okay,
it's the only way it's happening.
Okay, so we send out $4 million in cap, and we
4.5
have 1.4 million ABV, 1.2 in cap space that we still got. Okay, so we're at 6.5. You want to bring in a $2 million goalie in that trade? We're gonna have to give up
2 to 3
draft picks to be able to make that. And then how do you want to pay?
That's a nice hypothetical number, but that's a nice hypothetical number in draft picks. I don't think it takes that much.
I'm being facetious. Okay, maybe it's 3 draft picks. So
I'm bringing you back
you've done that now, and you've got your $4 million left, right? In your math, how do you pay Yamo, Feogele, and Benson? They still need contracts, Dirce.
So does Nurse at the end of next year.
Yeah, but sure, let's talk about right now, because we got 1.2 million in cap space right now. We still have to pay Yamamoto. We still have to pay Feogele. We still have to pay Benson. And we're going to somehow miraculously give away a $4 million goalie that nobody wants and have enough cap space to sign these guys and bring in a goalie that can win us the Stanley Cup. I don't see it, man. I just don't.
You're occupying $4.5 million right now in cap space.
Okay.
Right? If you ship that out and bring in a cheaper goalie that can still win, 20, 22 games out of the what's left of the 41 that Smith plays ish, then you've gained cap space. You got more to work with, not less. And that's what needs. That's what needs to happen.
Pay Yamamoto, Feogele, and Benson.
I get it. So you want to hang on to a $4.5 million goalie and have less room to work with? I'm saying ship Mikko out. Get a cheaper goalie to come in.
Who's taking Mikko though? That's the problem, right?
Nobody.
Right.
You stick him in the minors, maybe, Dirce. That's your only chance. You can stick him in.
But you
tourist down in the minors.
A cost to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Arizona was the way.
Right, but we lost that, and I think Holland. We'll go back to episode 1, man. How much this Keith signing? I argue then. I will argue now. It was an absolutely aimless and impetuous use of our cap space to have 20 to 25 million sitting there and to go out and get Duncan Keith at $5.5 million. Started the handcuff. Now we're handcuffed. Then he does not expect Larson to leave. Sorry, dude. Have a plan B. Like you had to know if you stopped talking to JP Barrie 3 months ago that there's a chance he might not come back. You got to know that. And if you don't have a plan B, well, I'm sorry, man. Like fail to plan and plan to fail, because that's what's happening. The dominoes have fallen. Now Larson's gone and we're scrambling. So now Barrie is a scramble contract, and now more haphazard, foolhardy spend of our cap. When why? We should have done this smart from the beginning. This is the time we had cap for the first time in how many goddamn years, man. And now we've spent it on this.
There's another way to free up more cap space.
How's that?
Other than dealing your goalie.
Dealing Kassian?
Yeah.
Tom Gazzola said yesterday on the radio that he directly asked Ken Holland at the presser, and there was not one team interested in Kassian. There was zero market interest in Zach Kassian at that dollar and that term. Sure.
What he tells you and what's the truth might be two completely different things.
Well, I said it on the air. He didn't
Ask Fleury.
Yeah.
Ask Fleury. Martin Biron today, he said in Philly, they told him 8 months before he got traded, you're going to be a Flyer for a very long time.
Yeah. What's said and what's said and actually is done is sometimes two completely different things.
Yeah. Okay, so
we still have a bit of a challenge, though, right? Like, I think, Dash, I think you're 100%. There's still a challenge. We have